Hello, and welcome to Handled-ish, Productivity for the Imperfect, a weekly podcast for those who want to elevate their productivity but are not looking for perfection. I'm your host, Betsy Hayes, and I am so glad you're joining me from Podcast Land or on YouTube. This is episode 24, Not So Superpowers. So you might recall that last week in episode 23, we had a conversation about superpowers because I think it's really important to think about what our superpowers are. And I have had conversations with some of you in the interim, and it's been so fun to hear what folks' superpowers are. And, I have people telling me, what their spouse's superpowers are, and it's just a bunch of fun. And I hope you have enjoyed talking about your superpowers. Side note, my superpower of being able to untangle things came up again. A couple of days ago, I had a friend helping me put some lights up in my backyard, and when they came out of the box, they were just this big jumbled mess. And, sometimes you just need to know how to untangle things. So that was hilarious. Also decided that one of my other superpowers is project management. And I think this is interesting. And the reason I'm sharing is because I think sometimes when things are easy for us, we don't really understand how superpower-ish they are. And so one of my superpowers is project management. So when there's something that needs to be done, I'm really good at taking a look at the big picture and breaking it down into steps and attaching a timeline and assigning things to people and all of that. And that is something that is really easy for me. And so I forget that it really is a superpower because not everybody can do that. And I was putting together a plan for a project I'll be starting very soon. And one of my folks I'm working with commented like, wow, you know what? I'm just so grateful that you're always able to do this type of thing for us, because that's something that this person, struggles with. And so it was a fun reminder that especially when things are really easy for us, we need to not overlook that they are in fact a superpower. But today we are talking about things that are not so superpowers. So yes, we are good at many things. We are also not good at many things. And I think learning what those is also a very important thing for our overall happiness and also our overall productivity. We cannot be good at everything. That's not the way humans are built. So there are things that we're just not good at, and there's things that we need support with. So I wanted to talk about some strategies for that today. I guess step one would be for you, I'm encouraging you to think about what your non-superpowers are. What are the things that you've just never really been able to, move forward in as far as your skill set, or things that are just very difficult for you, or, stuff that maybe you've tried and, you just haven't gotten any better. I guess there's a couple of categories of non-superpowers. The first one is things that we just aren't good at yet, right? These are things that we do have potential to improve on. And should we choose to put in the time and effort and get the resources we need, we can get better at those. Whereas superpowers, of course, are things that tend to be a little bit more natural to us, and we get better very quickly at them when we work at it. The other category of non-superpowers are things that we're just really not probably ever going to be good at. And that is also okay. And recognizing them is really important. So should you have a non-superpower and you kind of want to figure out what to do about that, one of the strategies I like to use is to partner with someone who has that superpower that I don't have. So it can be a really complementary relationship. Our maximum skills, our superpowers can be utilized to the benefit of the project or the relationship or whatever it is. And that tends to work out really well, to look for folks who have complementary skill sets to yours. That doesn't mean that some of your superpowers don't overlap, but many of them might not, and that could make for a really strong partnership. This is where I like to talk about this idea of reverse mentoring, and oftentimes how much fun it is and how rewarding it is to partner with people who are of significantly different ages than you. Reverse mentoring is something I've actually studied as part of my professional life, and it's the idea that whereas traditional mentoring is amazing, and obviously we can benefit from some folks who are more experienced and more seasoned than we are, we can also really benefit from people who are much younger and have had much less life experience than us. And so the idea of having a reverse mentor, meaning a non-traditional mentor, someone, a little bit or a lot younger than us, can have tremendous benefit and can really be, good potential partners. One of the examples in my life is the illustrator for my children's book that I published last fall is actually, I think he's younger than my youngest child. And just such a joy to have worked with him. He's so talented. So it's a very fun thing. So it's a complementary relationship because I'm a writer, he's an illustrator. And so we have very different skill sets that we brought to the project, which obviously were very important. I am never going to be an illustrator. That is a non-superpower for me. However, in order to do a children's book, you really need illustrations. And so to partner with him was very useful from that perspective. We have, complementary superpowers, even though he is also a good writer. And being, of different generations, that was also a lot of fun to get the different perspectives on the technology we should use, the marketing strategies, those sorts of things had, different perspectives that were really beneficial in us coming up with what ultimately ended up being the best plan. My co-author for my nonfiction books, who actually is here with me this weekend. We're having so much fun working on the second edition of Land Your Dream Career. And one of the reasons our relationship works so well is we have a lot of similar superpowers, but we also have some really fun complementary ones. She is just a very, very early adopter of new technology. I call her a fearless early adopter because she just takes it and runs with it and understands it and then helps me understand it. Where I'm not afraid of technology, I am not an early adopter. That's not one of my superpowers. I appreciate her so much being an early adopter because that helps me be a slightly more early adopter than if left to my own devices. Okay, who are we kidding? I would probably be early majority at best if left to my own devices. So that is something that can help mitigate one of my non-superpowers. And I think from her perspective, I think she really appreciates, again, the project management piece. And also, I had more life experience than her. And so I think it's fun for her to pick my brain about different scenarios that she comes up with in her work life. Because as you know, Tori's a social media coach. And so client relationships are always things to talk about and get counsel. So think about how you could potentially partner with someone who has different superpowers to help mitigate the superpowers that you do not have. So that is strategy number one, partner. Strategy number two is to mitigate, to figure out how you can make your non-superpower less of an issue for you. I have talked repeatedly this month about my obligerness, being an obliger, part of Gretchen Rubin's 4 Tendencies framework, and how when you're an obliger, you need external accountability for reaching internal expectations. And so I've actually started a couple of groups, accountability groups, that will help me or are helping me already mitigate some of that reluctance for whatever reason to meet my own internal expectations, but having that accountability from these groups of lovely humans has really, really been helpful for me. And it's helped mitigate one of my non-superpowers. So I'm experimenting with ways that I can do that. And that's something I encourage you to do. What can you do to mitigate your non-superpower? Is that what you need? Do you need an external accountability group or person? Maybe you need coaching, of some kind, or, to hire a trainer or hire a coach, or, just hire someone who can provide you with accountability in whatever it is that you're working on. Maybe you want to mitigate your maybe one of your superpowers is not in the kitchen, for example. And so you can mitigate that by, using some of those services that provide you with the ingredients and the recipes, and just makes it easier for you to cook at home. And you don't have to do a lot of the decision making or recipe picking if that's not something that, is one of your strong skill sets. So how can you mitigate your non-superpowers? What's something that you can think about this week to help you in that area? And then another strategy is this idea of asking for help, which may seem, a little silly and perhaps obvious, but sometimes maybe we're embarrassed about our non-superpower. Maybe we think it's something that we should have a handle on by whatever time in our lives we are at. Maybe it's something that we have tried and not succeeded at in the past, and maybe we've done it publicly. So we don't, want to let folks know that we're trying it again. I'm trying to think of a funny example from my life. I had the most amazing yellow lab, Max, and we started and quit puppy training twice, maybe 3 times. Which obviously meant that was a non-superpower as far as the two of us were concerned. That was something we were not good at, was succeeding in puppy school. So I can see how, should I have wanted to try that again, that would have been a little bit embarrassing. Like, oh yeah, 3rd or 4th time's the try. So sometimes we might be feeling that way. Sometimes we, might just be nervous. I don't know. There's a million reasons why we might not want to ask for help, all of which are not good if we're just being straight up honest with ourselves. Those are not good reasons to not ask for help. And people, by and large, really do enjoy helping others, especially if they are able to help you with their superpower. We love to share our superpowers and use them for good and help other people's lives be better by using things that we are naturally good at. And so it is actually a gift. So you can kind of think about it this way. You can think you are being altruistic by asking people for help, by giving them the opportunity to use their superpowers to help you. So that is a different twist, I think, hopefully, on asking for help that maybe you haven't thought of, or maybe you haven't thought of in a while. So ask for help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. And a lot of times you're bringing joy to the person that you're asking to help you. So do that as well. I am sure that there are many other ways that we can help offset our non-superpowers. And I'd love to hear what you think and continue this conversation. Thank you for joining me. As always, would love to hear what you think. Let me know on social media at Betsy Hayes, my website, betsyahays.com. Hayes, as you know, is HAYS.com, or excuse me, Hayes is not HAYS.com. My last name is HAYS. There is no E. And to help keep the podcast going, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Rate and review it. So appreciate everything that you do for the podcast. And tune in next week for another episode of Handled-ish, Productivity for the Imperfect. Until then, take care and please be kind to yourself. You are doing way better than you think you are. Trust me.